The great hall on Nexus Prime stretched higher than any building on Earth. Crystal walls caught the light from 3 suns and threw rainbow colors across the floor. 47 different alien species sat in floating chairs around the massive room. Some looked like giant insects with clicking sounds coming from their mouths. Others had scales like snakes and hissed when they talked. The biggest ones looked like bears but stood 12 feet tall. Jake Morrison walked into the center of the hall. His black suit looked plain next to all the colorful alien clothing. Behind him came Lisa Grant, a young woman with brown hair who carried a small computer. Colonel Ben Parker followed them both. His military uniform had no fancy decorations, just simple earth colors. The 3 humans looked very small in the huge room. Jake's hands shook a little as he looked up at all the alien faces staring down at him. Some were laughing. Others made sounds that the translation devices turned into words of mockery. A blue creature with 4 arms floated down from the highest chair. This was Prime Chancellor Zerion of the Altarian Empire. His voice boomed through speakers placed around the room. "So these are the famous humans," Zerion said. His tone made it clear he was not impressed. "Look at them. No claws, no fangs, no armor on their skin. They want us to protect them like children." More laughter came from the crowd. A massive bear-like creature named Gorthak slammed his fist. On his chair, the sound echoed through the hall like thunder. "Their bones break too easily," Gorthak growled. "Their muscles are weak. They have no fighting spirit. Why should the council waste time on such soft creatures?" Jake stepped forward. He cleared his throat and spoke into the translation device clipped to his shirt. "Honored council members," he began. "Humans may not look strong, but we have survived on Earth for thousands of years. We have faced ice ages, plagues, and wars. We have learned to work together and solve problems." The alien laughter grew louder. One of the insect creatures made a clicking sound that translated as, "Problem solving will not save you from real predators." Lisa Grant opened her computer and tried to show charts and numbers on the big screen. The data showed human population, growth technology development, and peaceful cooperation between different human groups, but the aliens barely looked at the information. "Numbers on a screen mean nothing," said a snake-like creature with yellow eyes. "We have seen your warriors. They tire quickly. They break easily. They cry when hurt. These are not the qualities of a strong species." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a scientist who had come with the human group, stood up from her seat. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong when she spoke. "If you would just look at our research," she said, "you would see that humans are very good at adapting to new situations. We learn fast. We change our methods when something does not work. We never give up." But her words were lost in the noise. The aliens were not interested in listening. They had already made up their minds about humans. Prime Chancellor Zerion raised one of his 4 hands. The room became quiet. "The Galactic Council has made its decision," he announced. "Humans are hereby classified as a protected pastoral species. They will remain in their home solar system where they can live safely. They are not suited for the dangers of galactic space." The words hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. Protected pastoral species was the same classification given to cute animals that lived on garden worlds. It meant humans were seen as harmless pets, not equals. "This is not right," Jake said, his voice getting louder. "We came here asking for friendship, not protection. We want to be partners in building a better galaxy." "Partners?" Zerion laughed. "What could you possibly offer us? Your technology is primitive, your ships are slow, your weapons are basic. You would be eaten alive by the first real threat you encountered." Colonel Parker had stayed quiet during the whole meeting. Now he stepped forward and whispered something in Jake's ear. Jake nodded and looked back up at the council. "We understand your decision," Jake said calmly. "We will return to Earth and inform our government." The alien guards, tall creatures in metal armor, formed a circle around the humans. They escorted them out of the hall like they were dangerous criminals instead of diplomatic visitors. As they walked toward their ship, Jake could hear the aliens still laughing and making jokes about weak humans. Lisa Grant's face was red with anger. Colonel Parker looked thoughtful, like he was planning something. Their ship, the USS Liberty, was small compared to the alien vessels in the spaceport. It looked like a tiny metal box next to the huge, sleek ships of the council races. The alien workers loading supplies pointed at it and made more jokes. Inside the ship, Jake sat down heavily in his chair. Lisa slammed her computer shut and muttered angry words under her breath. Only Colonel Parker seemed calm. "They think we are helpless farm animals," Jake said, staring out the window at the alien city. Parker's old face showed a small smile. "Maybe that is exactly what we want them to think, sir." Jake looked at him with confusion. "What do you mean?" "Well," Parker said slowly, "it might be useful if our enemies underestimate us. An enemy who thinks you are weak will not prepare for your real strength." Far away from Nexus Prime on a mining world called Kepler 442b, a woman named Carol Hayes sat in a hidden underground room filled with computers and communication equipment. She wore simple work clothes like any other miner, but her equipment was far more advanced than anything the council had seen. Carol listened to a coded message from someone named Steve Chen. He was pretending to be a student at an alien military school, but he was really gathering information about their weapons and battle plans. "The Altarians are overconfident," Steve's voice said through the encrypted channel. "They think their plasma weapons make them unbeatable. They have no idea what humans are really capable of." Carol smiled as she typed her response. "The aliens thought they were so much smarter and stronger than humans. They had no idea that humans had been watching them and learning their secrets for many years. On Earth, in hidden facilities that no alien knew about, human scientists and engineers were working on projects that would surprise the galaxy. They had been preparing for this day when they would no longer be seen as the weak, protected species. The Council believed humans were frail. Soon they would learn how wrong they were." 6 months passed since the Council meeting. Life in the galaxy seemed normal for most alien species. They continued their trade, built their cities, and felt safe under the protection of their powerful military forces. But danger was coming from far away, and none of them were ready for it. The Skarn Collective had been watching the galaxy for a long time. They came from another galaxy called Andromeda, traveling through space in huge ships made of living metal and bone. The Skarn themselves were nightmare creatures that stood 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in hard shell-like armor that could stop most weapons. They had forearms ending in razor-sharp claws, and their faces looked like insects mixed with demons. What made the Skarn truly dangerous was their hive mind. Every Skarn warrior was connected to every other warrior through thoughts they could share. When one Skarn learned something, they all learned it instantly. When one felt pain, they all felt it but did not care. Fear was unknown to them because they thought as one giant mind. The first attack came without warning. 3 Skarn ships appeared near a peaceful trading station called Haven Point. The station's defense systems tried to fight back, but the Skarn ships were too strong. Within hours, Haven Point was destroyed and everyone on it was dead. News of the attack reached the Council on Nexus Prime. Prime Chancellor Zerion called an emergency meeting. The Great Hall filled with worried alien representatives. Their confident laughter from 6 months ago was gone, replaced by nervous whispers and frightened looks. "This is just one attack," Zerion announced, trying to sound calm. "Our fleets will handle these invaders easily. The Altarian Navy has never been defeated." Admiral Krethos, the commander of the Altarian fleet, stood up from his seat. He was a proud warrior with battle scars covering his blue scales. His voice was full of confidence when he spoke. "My ships are already moving to engage the enemy," he reported. "The mighty Stellar Dominion leads 12 battleships toward their last known position. These Skarn creatures will learn the price of attacking Council space." The Admiral's words made many Council members feel better. The Altarian fleet was famous throughout the galaxy for its powerful weapons and skilled crews. Surely they would end this threat quickly. But Admiral Krethos was wrong. Very wrong. The battle near the gas giant Terminus 7 became a disaster for the Council forces. The Skarn ships looked crude and ugly compared to the beautiful Altarian vessels, but looks were deceiving. When the fighting started, the alien ships discovered that Skarn technology was built for war, not beauty. Skarn weapons fired streams of acid that ate through the strongest armor. Their ships could heal damage by growing new parts like living creatures. Worst of all, when Skarn boarding parties got inside Altarian ships, the Council Marines could not stop them. The Skarn warriors moved like a perfect team. They knew where every enemy was without looking. They attacked weak points at exactly the right time. Their claws cut through armor like paper, and they felt no pain when the Altarians fought back. Admiral Krathos watched in horror as his flagship, the Stellar Dominion, was overrun by Skarn boarders. His bridge crew fought bravely, but it was not enough. The Admiral's last message before his ship exploded was a warning to the Council. "They are not like anything we have faced before," he said, his voice full of fear. "They fight as one mind. They do not stop. They do not retreat. Send everything you have." But sending everything was not enough. The insectoid Zephyrians tried their swarm tactics, sending thousands of small fighters against the Skarn ships. The enemy's coordinated defense destroyed the swarms before they could do any damage. The reptilian Korvaxi used their famous poison weapons, which could kill most creatures in seconds. The Skarn's hard shells protected them, and their shared mind helped them avoid the poison attacks. The giant bear-like Vraxians were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. They could tear apart metal with their bare hands and fight for hours, without getting tired. But the Skarn were faster and smarter, using their teamwork to overwhelm even the mighty Vraxians. More bad news reached the Council every day. Colony after colony fell to the Skarn advance. Entire fleets disappeared without sending any messages. The enemy was moving toward the heart of Council space, and nothing could stop them. Prime Chancellor Zirian paced back and forth in his private office, his 4 hands shaking with worry. His advisors brought him reports that got worse each hour. The Skarn were not just winning battles, they were destroying everything in their path and leaving no survivors. "We need help," said Councillor Thesha, a fish-like creature from the water, world Oceania. "Every species must contribute ships and soldiers to stop this threat." "What about the humans?" asked a small, glowing creature from the Luminari species. "Should we ask them for assistance?" The room became very quiet. Then Zarion started laughing, but it was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had lost hope. "The humans?" he said. "Those soft, weak creatures who cannot even leave? Their home system? What could they possibly do against enemies that defeat our best warriors?" His advisor, a young Altarian named Kethos, looked uncomfortable. "Sir, they did offer to help with transportation and medical supplies. Their cargo, ships could evacuate civilians from threatened worlds." Zirion waved one of his hands dismissively. "Fine, send them a message asking for humanitarian assistance, but keep it simple. We need cargo ships, not weapons. Those farm animals would only get in the way of real fighting." Far from the Council, chambers in a hidden base built inside an asteroid beyond Pluto, Admiral Kate Sullivan read the Council's message with great interest. Around her, the command center buzzed with activity as human officers worked at their stations. The room looked nothing like the simple, primitive technology the aliens expected from humans. Advanced computers processed information from across the galaxy. Communication equipment sent secret messages to human agents on dozens of worlds. Weapon design screens showed projects that would amaze even the most advanced alien scientists. Commander Rick Torres appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from his hidden position near Skarn space. His uniform bore no Earth symbols, and his ship was disguised as a broken space hulk, but his eyes were sharp as he delivered his report. "Admiral, I have been watching the enemy fleet movements for 3 weeks," he said. "The Skarn follow predictable patterns. Their hive mind makes them coordinated, but it also makes them think in fixed ways. They cannot adapt quickly to unexpected tactics." Dr. Nathan Brooks, the chief scientist at the Luna Research Facility, joined the conversation. His laboratory on the moon had been studying alien technology for decades, learning the secrets that no alien species shared with others. "Their ships are impressive, but they have weaknesses," Dr. Brooks explained. "The living metal that heals damage needs time to regrow. If you hit them fast enough, they cannot recover, and their hive mind connection can be disrupted with the right kind of electromagnetic interference." Admiral Sullivan listened carefully to both reports. She turned to her aide, Lieutenant Commander Amy Foster, who was updating tactical displays with new information. "How long until the Skarn reach the inner systems?" Sullivan asked. Amy checked her calculations twice before answering. At their current speed, about 6 weeks, ma'am. The Council forces are retreating on all fronts. They cannot slow the advance. Major Chris Anderson, the intelligence officer, looked up from his workstation. Admiral, our deep cover agents report that Council morale is breaking. Some species are already talking about surrender. Sullivan stood up and walked to the large window that showed Earth in the distance. The blue and green world looked peaceful and beautiful, just like the aliens expected. They thought humans were simple farmers and merchants who needed protection from the dangerous galaxy. Gentlemen, she said without turning around, I think it is time to show our alien friends what humans are really capable of. Signal all units. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Throughout space, the message reached dozens of human ships and bases. The cargo vessels that had been dismissed as slow and primitive began to change. Hidden weapon systems emerged from concealed compartments. False hull plates fell away to reveal military armor and advanced technology. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been preparing for war long before the Skarn arrived. And unlike the rigid, predictable aliens, humans knew how to fight dirty. The Skarn invasion fleet reached the industrial world of Mechanicus after destroying 3 more Council colonies. The planet was famous throughout the galaxy for building the biggest and most powerful starships. Massive factories covered entire continents and orbital shipyards floated in space like metal cities. The planet's defenses should have been strong enough to stop any attack. Automated weapon platforms surrounded Mechanicus in 3 protective rings. The Altarian garrison included 50,000 elite soldiers and 200 fighter craft. But the Skarn breakthrough came faster than anyone expected. The enemy ships punched through the outer defenses in less than 4 hours. Their acid weapons melted the automated platforms, while boarding parties captured the orbital factories. The Altarian soldiers fought bravely, but the Skarn's coordinated attacks overwhelmed them quickly. Prime Chancellor Zerion watched the battle reports from his emergency command center on Nexus Prime. Each update brought worse news. The shipyards were falling one by one. The garrison was retreating to underground bunkers. Millions of civilian workers were trapped with no way to escape. For the first time in his long political career, Zerion felt true desperation. The Council's most important military production center was about to fall, and there was nothing left to stop the Skarn advance toward the core worlds. Sir, his aide Kethos said quietly, perhaps we should consider asking the humans for more than just cargo. Ships. Zerion's pride rebelled against the idea. Asking those weak creatures for military help would be the ultimate humiliation, but as another factory complex exploded on the tactical display, his pride seemed less important than survival. Send a message to Earth, he said through gritted teeth. Request immediate humanitarian assistance for civilian evacuation. Make it clear that we need their fastest cargo vessels. The message reached President Helen Carter in the White House Situation Room within hours. She sat at the head of a long table surrounded by her top military and intelligence advisors. Secretary of Defense Robert Kane read the Council's request aloud, trying not to smile. They want our help evacuating civilians, he said. No mention of military assistance, of course. We are still just the galaxy's taxi service in their minds. General Patricia Lee, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, opened a classified folder and spread photos across the table. The images showed human military assets positioned throughout known space, all disguised as civilian operations. Madam President, our forces have been in position for months, she reported. Operation Sleeping Giant can begin immediately. CIA Director Frank Gibson leaned forward. Our intelligence networks confirm that the Council has no idea about our real capabilities. They still think we are primitive farmers with basic technology. President Carter studied the tactical maps for several minutes. Red markers showed Skarn, positions advancing toward the galactic core. Blue markers indicated Council forces in full retreat. But scattered throughout the display were small green dots that represented something the aliens had never suspected. How many ships do we have in position? She asked. 67 major vessels currently operating under civilian cover, General Lee replied, plus another 130 smaller craft providing intelligence and support. And our special operations teams? 2,000 personnel embedded throughout contested space, CIA Director Gibson answered. The aliens think they are refugees, maintenance workers, or research scientists. President Carter made her decision. Activate Sleeping Giant. Show them what humans can really do. Captain Joe Martinez stood on the bridge of what appeared to be a simple grain transport called the Peaceful Trader. The ship was currently docked at a supply station in the Vega system, loading food supplies for refugee camps. But appearances could be very deceiving. All hands, this is the captain, Martinez announced over the ship's communication system. Drop masquerade protocols immediately. Activate combat configuration. Throughout the vessel, dramatic changes began. False wall panels slid away to reveal weapon control stations. The cargo bay doors opened to show rows of fighter craft instead of grain containers. The ship's hull shifted as armor plating moved into position and weapon arrays extended from hidden compartments. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Linda Clark watched power readings climb to levels that would amaze alien scientists. The fusion reactors that had been running at minimal output suddenly roared to full capacity, providing enough energy to power a small city. Captain, she reported through the intercom, all systems are showing green. We are ready for combat operations. On the bridge, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Sam Rivers worked at a control panel that moments before had been disguised as a simple navigation computer. His fingers moved quickly across advanced targeting systems. Sir, I am receiving activation. Signals from Ghost Squadron, Phantom Wing, and Shadow Fleet, he reported. All units confirm they are dropping their covers. Throughout space near human colonies, the same transformation was happening. Cargo ships revealed themselves as heavy cruisers. Research stations extended massive sensor arrays and weapon platforms. Mining operations activated as forward military bases complete with fighter squadrons and marine units. The humans had spent decades building a secret military network while pretending to be harmless merchants and farmers. Every civilian vessel carried hidden weapons. Every research facility was actually an intelligence post. Every refugee camp housed special operations soldiers. On the asteroid base beyond Pluto, Admiral Sullivan coordinated the massive operation. Dozens of screens showed human assets coming online throughout the galaxy. The transformation was happening exactly as planned. All units report successful activation, Commander Amy Foster announced. We now have full military capability in 17 star systems. Dr. Brooks joined them from the Luna facility with an update on Skarn movements. Admiral, our reconnaissance drones have identified a weakness in their formation. They group their ships tightly to maximize their hive mind coordination, but that makes them vulnerable to coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Meanwhile, Colonel Brian Matthews led his special operations team through the ruined cities of New Geneva, a world that had been evacuated weeks ago. His soldiers moved like ghosts through the empty buildings, setting up observation posts and weapon caches. The Skarn will be here within days, he told his team through encrypted radio. Remember, these aliens fight like they are playing a board game with rules. We are going to teach them about human creativity. His soldiers nodded, understanding. They had trained for years in tactics that no alien military academy taught. Guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, and asymmetric strategies that turned enemy strengths into weaknesses. The first test came sooner than expected. A Skarn scouting force of 12 ships entered the Tau Ceti system, expecting to find it empty after the human evacuation. Instead, they found the UES Defiance, a single human vessel that appeared to be conducting routine patrols. Captain Roy Cooper received the activation signal just as the Skarn ship surrounded his vessel. His crew of 40 looked very small compared to the enemy force, but Cooper was not worried. The Defiance was not as alone as it appeared. This is Captain Cooper of the United Earth Space Navy, he broadcast on all frequencies. You are in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw immediately. The Skarn response came through their translation systems as harsh laughter. These creatures had destroyed dozens of council fleets, and now a single small human ship was trying to threaten them. Soft mammals, the Skarn commander replied. You will be consumed like all the others. Your weakness will feed our young. Cooper's voice remained calm and professional. I gave you a chance to leave peacefully. Ghost Squadron, you have permission to engage. The space around the Skarn fleet suddenly filled with new contacts as cloaked human ships appeared from nowhere. The enemy had walked into a carefully prepared trap, and now they would learn what human military planning could accomplish. The galaxy was about to discover that the species they had dismissed as helpless farmers were actually the most dangerous predators in known space. The space around the Skarn fleet exploded into chaos as 20 human warships appeared from nowhere. The cloaking devices that had hidden them shut off at the same moment, revealing sleek vessels bristling with weapons that no alien had ever seen before. Captain Cooper's small ship, the Defiance, was no longer alone. The Ghost Squadron had been waiting in the shadows, and now they struck with perfect coordination. The human weapons were unlike anything in the galaxy. Plasma cannons fired beams of energy hotter than the core of a star, burning through Skarn bioarmor like it was paper. Railguns launched metal slugs at incredible speeds, punching clean holes through enemy ships from one side to the other. But the most terrifying weapons were the gravity lances. These devices created focused beams of gravitational force that could tear apart anything they touched. When a gravity lance hit a Skarn ship, the vessel twisted and broke apart as if invisible hands were ripping it into pieces. Admiral Vorthak, the supreme commander of the Skarn invasion, watched the battle from his massive bioship called Flesh Render. His tactical displays showed something that had never happened before in Skarn military history. An entire battle group was being destroyed by a smaller enemy force. "This is impossible," he hissed through his translator device. "The mammals have no military capability. Our intelligence confirmed they are weak and helpless." His second-in-command, a smaller Skarn queen named Ziska, studied the sensor readings with growing alarm. "Commander, these weapons are completely unknown to our databases. Their tactical coordination suggests extensive combat experience." The battle lasted only 12 minutes. When it was over, 11 of the 12 Skarn ships were destroyed. The single survivor fled toward the main invasion fleet, carrying impossible news back to the Skarn command. The engagement was monitored by Council forces from their retreat positions near the Centauri colonies. Prime Chancellor Zerion stared at his tactical display in complete shock. The sensor data was clear and undeniable. Humans had just destroyed a Skarn battle group without taking any damage at all. "This must be some kind of error," he muttered to his aide Kathos. "The humans are a protected species. They have basic technology and no weapons." Kathos reviewed the intelligence reports with growing confusion. "Sir, these energy signatures are completely new. The tactical coordination shows military planning that surpasses our own capabilities." The news spread through the retreating Council fleets like wildfire. Species that had laughed at human weakness just months ago now watched in amazement as the sensor data confirmed the impossible. The soft, helpless humans had developed advanced military technology in complete secrecy, but this was only the beginning. Over the next week, more Skarn forces disappeared throughout the outer systems. They would enter a star system and simply vanish, leaving no wreckage and no survivors to report what had happened. The pattern was always the same. Skarn ships would detect what appeared to be civilian human vessels going about normal business. When they moved to attack, hidden human warships would appear and destroy them with weapons and tactics the Skarn could not understand or counter. Human special operations teams struck at Skarn supply lines and communication centers. Colonel Matthews led raids that severed the psychic connections linking Skarn forces together. Without their hive mind coordination, individual Skarn units became confused and vulnerable. The raids were perfectly planned and executed with surgical precision. Human soldiers moved through enemy positions like ghosts, destroying critical systems and disappearing before the Skarn could respond. They used tactics that no alien military academy taught, fighting in ways that confused and demoralized the enemy. On the contested world of Kepler 438b, Matthews and his team infiltrated a massive Skarn communication complex. The biomechanical structure pulsed with organic lights as psychic signals coordinated Skarn forces across dozens of star systems. "Remember the plan?" Matthews whispered to his soldiers as they moved through ventilation shafts designed for much larger alien workers. "We hit the neural nodes simultaneously, cut the connections and get out before they know what happened." The attack took less than 5 minutes. Shaped charges destroyed the organic computers that linked Skarn minds together. When the explosions ended, thousands of Skarn warriors across the galaxy suddenly found themselves alone in their own heads for the first time in their lives. Similar operations happened on 12 other worlds at exactly the same time. The Skarn communication network, which had taken centuries to grow and develop, was crippled in a single coordinated strike. Admiral Vorthak felt the psychic network collapse like a physical blow. The constant presence of his warriors' minds suddenly went silent, leaving him isolated in his own thoughts. Panic spread through the Skarn fleet as individual ship commanders tried to function without the hive mind that had guided them since birth. "Restore communications immediately," he ordered his bridge crew. But the damage was too extensive. The humans had identified critical vulnerabilities that the Skarn themselves did not know existed. Meanwhile, the scope of human military preparation became clear to the shocked Council forces. The mining operations on asteroids throughout the galaxy had been cover for building automated weapons platforms. Research stations activated as military bases complete with fighter squadrons and defensive systems. Most shocking of all, the human refugees who had been evacuated from contested worlds revealed themselves as special operations soldiers, perfectly positioned behind enemy lines. The aliens realized that humans had been planning for this war long before the Skarn invasion began. Dr. Brooks, monitoring from his facility on Luna, provided real-time intelligence to human forces throughout the galaxy. His analysis of Skarn biology and technology gave human commanders the information they needed to exploit enemy weaknesses. Their bioships require constant neural input from the crew, he reported to Admiral Sullivan. Disrupt those connections, and the ships will tear themselves apart from internal pressure. This intelligence led to Operation Heartbreak, a coordinated assault on Skarn command vessels. Human ships targeted the organic neural pathways that connected Skarn crews to their living ships. When those connections were severed, the biovessels convulsed and destroyed themselves. The Council species watched these developments with a mixture of awe and growing fear. The humans they had dismissed as harmless farmers were demonstrating military capabilities that surpassed anything in known space. Prime Chancellor Zerion called an emergency session to discuss humanity's new status. The great hall that had once echoed with laughter at human weakness now hosted very different conversations. "We may have made an error in our assessment," Zerion admitted to the assembled council. "The humans appear to have significant military capability that they concealed from us." "Concealed?" asked Counselor Thaisha. "They built an entire secret military while pretending to be helpless. This suggests long-term planning and deception on a scale we never imagined." The Council faced an uncomfortable truth. The species they had classified as needing protection had been protecting themselves all along. More than that, they were now protecting the entire galaxy from a threat that had overwhelmed every other military force. Human ships patrolled the space lanes, hunting down scattered Skarn forces with ruthless efficiency. Their tactics were unpredictable and creative, using strategies that confused enemies accustomed to formal military doctrine. The Skarn invasion, which had seemed unstoppable just weeks before, was falling apart under human pressure. The aliens, who had conquered dozens of worlds, found themselves outmatched by a species they had never considered a threat. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. Behind their soft appearance and peaceful words lay the most effective military force any of them had encountered. The humans had turned their apparent weakness into the ultimate weapon, convincing everyone to ignore them while they prepared for war. The Skarn main fleet gathered near the galactic core for one final desperate attack. Admiral Vorthak had lost half his invasion force to the mysterious human attacks, and his remaining warriors were confused without their hive mind connections. Into his desperation, Vorthak called for reinforcements from the Skarn home territory. The response came in the form of the most terrifying weapon in Skarn history. The Leviathan was a bioship the size of a small moon, carrying 1 million warrior drones in its living chambers. The massive vessel took 3 days to travel from Skarn space to the battle zone. When it arrived, its presence could be felt by every psychic species in the galaxy. The ship was not just large, it was alive. breathing and pulsing with organic energy that made space itself feel hostile. "Now the mammals will learn fear," Vorthak declared from his position aboard the flesh render. "The Leviathan will consume their pathetic fleet and restore Skarn dominance." The Council races, still retreating from the advancing Skarn forces, detected the Leviathan's arrival with growing terror. Their sensors could barely measure something so large and powerful. It seemed impossible that any force could stand against such a monster. Prime Chancellor Zarian sent another desperate message to Earth. This time his diplomatic language was replaced by simple begging. "The Skarn have deployed a weapon beyond our ability to fight," he transmitted. "We formally request immediate military assistance from the human government. Our previous classification of your species was clearly incorrect." The message reached President Carter in the White House war room. She looked around the table at her military advisors, noting their confident expressions. Operation Sleeping Giant had exceeded all expectations, but the real test was about to begin. "Admiral Sullivan," the president said into the communication device, "you have full authorization to engage the enemy with all available forces." On the bridge of the UES Enterprise, Admiral Sullivan received the order with grim satisfaction. The massive human flagship had been disguised as a space station for 10 years, orbiting a distant asteroid while gathering intelligence on alien military capabilities. Now the Enterprise revealed its true nature as the most advanced warship ever, built by human hands. The disguised station transformed into a vessel over 2 miles long, bristling with weapons that incorporated technology from dozens of alien species. "All ships, this is Enterprise Actual," Sullivan broadcast to the human fleet. "Proceed to Vega system for final engagement. Show them what Earth's children can do." Captain Martinez led his wolf pack of destroyers toward the Leviathan's escort vessels. The Patriot and her sister ships moved in perfect coordination, using tactics that human naval commanders had developed over centuries of warfare. "Remember," Martinez told his crew, "we hit fast, hit hard, and keep moving. The enemy expects formal battle lines and predictable strategies. We are going to give them chaos instead." The human fleet that assembled in the Vega system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 67 major warships supported by over 100 smaller vessels, all equipped with weapons that combined human innovation with alien technology. Dr. Brooks, monitoring from Luna, provided critical intelligence about the Leviathan's weaknesses. His analysis revealed that the massive bioship required constant neural input from thousands of Skarn controllers to maintain its organic systems. "If we can sever those neural connections," he reported to Admiral Sullivan, "the ship will lose control of its own biological processes. It will literally tear itself apart." The battle began when the Leviathan entered the Vega system with its escort fleet. The Skarn expected to face scattered human vessels and destroy them easily. Instead, they found the entire human fleet waiting in perfect formation. "This is Admiral Sullivan of the United Earth Space Navy," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You have invaded Council space and threatened peaceful worlds. Surrender now or face the consequences." The Skarn response was immediate attack. The Leviathan launched 1,000,000 warrior drones while its escort ships opened fire with every weapon they possessed. The space around Vega became a storm of energy beams and projectiles. But the humans were ready. Their ships moved like dancers, avoiding enemy fire while returning devastating attacks of their own. The gravity lances that had destroyed earlier Skarn forces now targeted the bioship's critical systems. Captain Cooper led a squadron of fast attack ships against the Leviathan's neural control centers. His vessels darted between the massive creature's defensive tentacles, firing precision shots at the organic computers that controlled its functions. "Target the nerve clusters," he ordered his pilots. "Dr. Brooks, mark them on your targeting systems. Cut the connections and watch this monster fall apart." The coordinated human attack overwhelmed the Skarn defenders. Their rigid tactics and predictable formations made them easy targets for human creativity and adaptability. Ship after ship fell to weapons they could not understand or counter. The turning point came when a dozen human vessels converged on the Leviathan's primary neural center. Their combined firepower severed the psychic connections that linked the creature's brain to its body systems. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The massive bioship began convulsing as its own biological processes went out of control. Internal pressure systems failed, causing the creature to tear itself apart from the inside. Admiral Vorthak watched in horror as his ultimate weapon destroyed itself. The sight broke the last of Skarn morale, and the surviving ships fled toward their home territory in complete defeat. The human victory was total and devastating. The Skarn invasion force that had terrorized the galaxy was destroyed or scattered. The species that had promised to consume all organic life retreated to their own space, beaten by enemies they had never considered a threat. News of the victory spread throughout Council space within hours. The alien species that had dismissed humans as weak farm animals now watched recordings of the battle with amazement and growing respect. Prime Chancellor Zerion called for an immediate council session to discuss humanity's status. This time, when the human delegation arrived at Nexus Prime, they came in Admiral Sullivan's flagship leading a full battle group. The great hall that had once echoed with laughter at human weakness now hosted a very different meeting. The alien representatives looked at the human delegation with newfound respect and barely concealed fear. President Carter addressed the council through a quantum communication link, her image appearing above the assembly floor. "We appreciate your invitation to discuss galactic affairs," she said calmly. "I believe our previous classification as a protected species may need some adjustment." Zerion, his political position weakened by the crisis, tried to maintain some dignity. "The human contribution to our mutual defense has been remarkable. We propose reclassifying humans as an allied species with appropriate privileges." Carter's smile was polite but firm. "That is generous, Chancellor. However, recent events suggest that humanity is ready for full council membership with complete voting rights." The vote was unanimous. No species wanted to argue with the people who had just saved galactic civilization. As the human delegation prepared to leave Nexus Prime, Ambassador Morrison reflected on the journey from dismissed supplicants to galactic power brokers. The other species watched the human fleet with respect mixed with wariness. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about judging others by appearance. The soft-skinned mammals who seemed so fragile had proven to be the most dangerous predators in known space. They combined intelligence with creativity, planning with adaptability, and an absolute refusal to surrender when facing impossible odds. The Council had believed humans were frail, but when war came, they discovered the truth about Earth's children. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.